Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner, and with me today is our town manager, Stephen Hicks. Stephen, I want to thank you for helping me at the Christmas parade.
Okay. Last minute.
You forgot your dog's name. I forgot your name. I drew a blank. I was just, maybe it was the excitement of the wedding.
I don't think I forgot my dog's name. I've had a dog, Maple, who's very, I still think of her a lot. And then Charlie looks kind of when it was a puppy and stuff.
Yeah.
So
we do that too. We're calling the one, by the other, and you had it so long.
Yeah. Well, I call my daughters Savannah, Rachel, Savannah, and it all depends on the situation.
We do that all the time. I mean, it's just crazy. But the parade went over great, and it was. Did you see the people that were out there? I mean, just amazing how many people showed up for that parade. That was a lot.
Yeah, my understanding that was one of the largest. And that's just the start. One of the things that I'm going to talk about, a series of things, but our special events.
Right.
We're getting ready to announce our new special events and public arts coordinator tomorrow.
Well,
and council's very clear that they want to have more events downtown. We didn't really have that many events. Well, we didn't really have any events this year.
Yeah, the last 2 years, nothing.
And a lot of it was because of coordination with other agencies and organizations. However, you're going to see a big difference. We're definitely going to have 4 big events. Council's really supportive of having a band each month, a quality band. And we're going to try to do everything we can to draw people to the town of Front Royal.
Right.
The town's
it
an awesome
shows you
place.
people love to come downtown.
Yeah.
They love to participate in that.
Yeah.
And the community does show up. So
Good. It's part of the tourism type of plan, but we believe that as soon as we start having special events downtown, it's going to draw other people from other areas.
Right.
I mean, and especially if you start talking about like the first annual 4th of July event or St. Patty's events or these huge events that
people need a reason to go do something.
I call them visitor events.
Exactly. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to do some stuff for our local people as well.
Well, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the 2 most recent things first. And we just published the release from the town because we had talked earlier. We were going to get together a couple of weeks ago, and we said, well, there's a bunch of stuff happening. We want to get that out.
Yeah.
The first thing you did was this Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee.
Is that a great thing?
Acronym. There's an acronym for that.
ESAC.
Yeah.
Well,
It's replaced our urban forestry thing. So.
Urban Forestry Advisory Committee, and they did a great job. Our tree stewards do a great job. Our Warren County Beautification Committee. However, council felt like it was more to just canopy and trees, and to have a sustainability, a sustainable community. It includes the environment, the economic and social aspect of a community, and so this group of folks will be looking at it from a bigger picture, and tree forestry, obviously, or urban forestry, water resources, and other type of events to include public art. Public art draws people. It's something we all have in common, and it's important too in the farmers market. And so they'll be working closely with our special events coordinator. But I really, the group of folks we have, and really, Megan, she's going to be an awesome person too. She's from RMA.
I noticed. I was going to say you have.
You want to mention who they are?
Yes, we can. You got Jerome Ray.
Yeah.
It says Jerome is the owner of the Happy Creek Roastery, and you got Justin Proctor. He's a member of the Smithsonian Virginia Working Landscape Program, and so that's pretty cool. Herschel Finch. He's part of the Isaac Walton League. Maggie T-Well. Yeah. And she's a young person.
Yeah, she's a senior.
You got a lot of ages there, which is kind of good. We're going to see things from different eyeballs.
Well, I'm excited about the group, and they all have environmental backgrounds. Right. Maggie, she's going to be a major in biochemistry, and so there's a lot of expectations, but it's going to be really interesting to see what report they provide to council on the direction on the sustainability piece.
And you're using your horticulturist on staff to kind of keep things organized.
Jim Osborne, great guy.
So that's great. I tell you, that's one thing when you drive up our main entries, people notice the mediums. They notice we get more comments about the garden club hanging the baskets on the
Yeah.
poles, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people notice those little touches like that.
Well, it's
And
appearance. It's a wow
appearance is
effect.
everything.
Yeah. And you know what I told you about appearance last time and how first impressions are
First
about
you-
my mom.
Well, you
What
can
she-
never make a second impression.
Well,
You know.
well, council, that goes also about their appearance. I mean, even looking at some budget guidance that they're providing us, they really want to look at how our entryways and our gateways look and
Right,
the overall
right.
appearance, because I think we are at the point right now that we want to make a lasting impression. And you're right. And you mentioned it before when I first met you. You're like, if we can just make the area look nice and clean, it's going to make a big difference.
Makes a big difference. When I travel around the country, the first thing you notice is a litter.
Yes.
And not that people maybe do it intentionally, but you can tell that there's just that extra little touch they're not going behind because people are messy. I mean,
Yeah. That's one area I'll never understand how.
I never could understand how people pull up to the traffic light, open their door, and dump their ashtray out on the highway. What is wrong with people?
Yeah.
That's one of my pet peeves. I wish I could turn the red lights on or the blue lights. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's talk about the second committee that we've got. We finally have appointed people to our Front Royal
Yeah.
EDA.
Yes.
And I'll mention the people's names on that. Maybe you can help me out. We got Nick Bass, Frank Stankowitz,
Yes. You said right.
James Cromwell, Rick Novak, Mark Tapsky, Isaac Rushing, and David Jedney.
Yes.
And you.
Yes. So, it's going to be. This is going to be a fun group to work with.
Let me mention something real quick, because I noticed even on the other committee, you've staggered these terms, so we're going to have some rotation.
Yes.
They're not just everybody's going to be on there for 3 or 4
Correct.
years. You've staggered them so that it's going to force people to move around. And
But also there's that institutional knowledge and the ability to kind of move
And
along.
we've done this with the EDA. I noticed you got 4-year, 3-year, 2-year, and 1-year terms.
Yes.
That's kind of good to kind of get, people that want to come on, but that's a 4-year commitment. And some people say, well, look, I'll try it and see how it goes.
Well, we also want to continue to get citizens to participate and be part of
you
the
got to get it
decision.
moving, and I think that's what this is. This will get it moving. So tell me, what's the plan?
So the plan, we will be meeting in January. Just the first meeting, just a meet and greet, and kind of lay out some of the responsibilities they have, and then also business of order, establish when they want to meet, how often they want to meet, when they want to meet, and then from there, they will receive some guidance from council.
Right.
What type of economic development do we want in the town, and what do we want to target? Is it going to be recruiting, retail? Is it going to be industrial type of revitalization? Is it going to be us purchasing land or buildings and us trying to figure out what's the best fit? Is it going to be focusing on dilapidated buildings, on actually playing that big role with the code compliance section?
Sure.
So a lot of that is going to be part of first brainstorming of what we really need in the community, and then come up with a strategic plan and economic development plan. So this process is still going to take time, but eventually we're going to start identifying specifically what we want to focus on.
Right.
And there's already property that we're aware of that it's not necessarily that we want to remove the marketing or the private sector away from it. But it is important that we in the community, as part we do our comp plan, we have a vision of certain corridors and certain areas where we probably need to invest in purchasing property. So that way we also can recruit and control what that development will look like and what we need. And so that's the key thing that we're going to be able to focus on.
Because once that property is developed or some building gets built there, it's there a long time.
We definitely don't need any more vapes
I was going to
and
say,
other stuff.
I read a really good a letter from one of these redevelopment consultants the other day, and he said, we always talk about what we want. Mm-hmm. He said, maybe what we need to talk about is what we don't want.
Yes.
And work it from that direction. And I read his thing, and that was pretty interesting, and I'll forward that to you, because we always talk about we want this, we want that, but it makes sense. Let's talk about what we don't want.
Well, yeah, and I think it goes hand in hand with the comp plan and the economic development plan, and we're updating our comp plan. And a lot of what we don't want and what we've learned in the past, we want to make sure that the comp plan reflects that. on the zoning and how we want to
That's how
zone
you do it.
And-
You do it
and-
with zoning.
and also have trigger points on, depending on what the zoning is, that it requires a special use permit. So the citizens have input in that type of development. And the planning commission and then the council. So there's certain expectations when you come into the town moving forward. There's going to be quality issues, how your building looks. Is it really something we need? And we got to start managing the traffic and how much traffic a certain development may generate. And put stress on our infrastructure.
Can you imagine putting the Chick-fil-A on the Shandor corridor? We wouldn't have any traffic. I mean,
Well, I think a lot of people would be willing to sacrifice.
I think they
to
would.
have a
But that's
Chick-fil-A.
a good example because you see it. We have
Yeah.
that problem on South Street now
Yeah.
with the traffic backing out, into the roadway because of the business, and so it's just we don't think about those things when we're developing.
Well, planning commission and staff and even council, the challenge right now is our land use map or zoning or subdivision, they don't talk together.
Right.
And they were developed in the past where it really creates for development to be very difficult. And I think a lot of that, while the intentions were good to kind of manage growth, it also allowed development to develop the way it wants. Mm-hmm. And there was no consistency. And so council's very clear. It's going to be a plan that's really going to allow us to see how the town's going to look in 20 years. Right. What we're working with now is just not working, and that's why we have sporadic development going on.
Right. It's
Questions.
hard to turn a ship around on a dime. I mean, it takes time. Well, one thing you mentioned, the special use permit.
It takes time. But we got a lot to make up for.
Right.
It's the fourth quarter. Well, we have to move quickly because the market is driving. People want to be in the town.
Right.
And so we don't have time to just wait. I mean, I hear you.
Yeah.
My saying is we want to be quick, but we don't want to hurry.
Right.
But it's a main focus, and I told you last time, we're painting the train while it's moving. Actually, the train's already been painted.
Yeah.
We're putting another coating on it.
Right. Well, you mentioned special use permits, and people get a little aggravated out. But one good thing about that, it puts an end to the process where versus by right, you come in, you put up your vape shop by right, and that's there forever. But if you have a special use permit, we're going to reevaluate this at the end of a period of time. So, that's
we're
kind
not,
of a broad.
We're not going to just exclude. I mean, I think still, you have to realize you're not going to avoid certain retail in the area.
No.
But what we can do is to make sure it doesn't look like we're in Las Vegas. All right.
Or Pigeon Forge.
You can have a vape shop, but you don't have to advertise it in a way where you can't miss it, right?
It does look like it's but and it goes back to the ordinance. We have that, no flashing lights, and all that other kind of things that goes on. But I think people are there's a lot of pros and cons about the town, the EDA thing. But I don't think you can have too much EDA. I mean, if the town works together with the county, or town and county EDA, there's some things that they're going to do, some things you're going to do, some things you're going to do together. I don't think it's going to be in a vacuum.
It's not going to be in the vacuum, but I think, again, the market's in the town. I do believe, we'll coordinate where we feel is appropriate, but it's going to be important that the citizens of the town really recognize that council is going to make sure that moving forward, the type of development, who we recruit, that small town feeling, that character, we're not going to alter it the best we can. And Frida's going to allow the opportunity to be able to control that. And I think Frida's going to allow those folks who want to invest to know that they have a authority they can go to and talk to, knowing that they can provide incentives and provide assistance or help or loans.
That's important because people don't want to invest in somewhere where there's no plan, there's no control. They want that. They want to know that when they build it, it's okay. It'll be there, and the rules and regulations are in place. That it's like what's what zoning's about. And we see West Virginia where there's no zoning.
Yes.
You build your nice $500,000 house and the guy puts his trailer in your backyard, and so, and that's okay if that's what you want.
Well,
but
predictability is important, and the council's very clear that we want to be business friendly and customer oriented, and I want to emphasize council when they say business friendly, what they want is. It doesn't mean that we're going to give away the farm and you can develop and your building can look any way that you would like. What it means is once we establish the playing rules, I'll just keep it simple, the business-friendly part of it is going to be a one-stop shop. All right, the predictability is going to be you come in, we're going to work on making you successful. Now, we're still going to have standards and expectations, but the great thing about it is one of the things that I've heard from developers and even citizens and homeowners is, man, it takes so long to get stuff approved. Man, it takes so long to do X. Council's very clear. Hicks, it's not going to take long. There's not going to be multiple bites at the apple.
Right.
So you'll see a big turnaround. And when that starts happening, that's when people start talking and they're going to say, hey, you go to the Front Royal and they're going to work with you. But we're going to have high standards. I want everyone to understand.
Well, I always tell people, I said this business-friendly thing, the people that establish the rules never use the policies and the procedures, and all of a sudden, I was at the hospital the other day, and they've got new procedures.
Yeah.
Well, the new procedures takes 4 times longer than the old procedure, which is, so sometimes the plans get in the way. You got to, maybe you need to go through the thing yourself and see how they work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And which is good. I think we will. But people want that, and I always stress is, and part of being business friendly is everything doesn't need to be no, which is the way it is now. Not necessarily with a town, but an overall stereotypical statement. Everything.
Make sure you write an article on that. I like that. I like that.
But everything doesn't have to be no.
Yes.
It could be, if you want to be business friendly, it's it is a no, but let's sit down and figure out what we can do to make this work for you.
Yeah.
It's an assistant, and I think that's what our EDA should be doing is helping people navigate through the rules and regulations so that everybody gets what they want and everything is good for everybody.
And
win-win.
And Mike, I think I wish I could record that and share that with a lot of people. What
you can
you
watch
just
it
said.
on the Royal Examiner.
I know, but we may market that with our with people who want to do business here. That was the vision of council,
Right.
is to be able to have that where they don't come to us and say, oh, you got to go to Warren County. Not that Warren County, I'm not saying
Sure,
it's not
or
doing the
anywhere,
job.
yeah.
But if I were to invest millions or even $20, I would want to know I could go to a planning director who can work with the economic development folks, and here's our proposal.
And they know what the rules are.
Here
right
are the
there.
rules. What can we do to make this happen?
Yeah. What do I need to change,
And
or
then
what
let
can we-
council look at it and stuff. Right now, there's just too many moving parts.
There's too many moving
and
parts.
when you have many moving parts, it takes a lot of maintenance, and something's going to break down.
Yeah, it does. It does. So, you've been here now, what, a year?
Yes.
And this is kind of like almost your anniversary. So
Yes, it is.
And I know you talked about getting your team together, and you've done that over the last year.
Yes.
I think we've got a great planning
Yes.
director. She seems very motivated,
yeah.
dedicated, and I've talked to her, and I need to talk to you've got an assistant. Anyway, you've got a lot of.
Well, let me
changed
share
things around a little
Yeah,
bit.
we've changed
And there are
things
going to be
around.
more changes. So.
Yeah, and it's not that I've made the change. I mean, change happens because the town's changing, right? And so as a result, there's different skill sets and needs that we need here. But since January, since I've been here technically in December, we've hired 30 new employees. All right, and that it doesn't
They're not
just
always
come.
new positions.
They're not new positions.
Right.
They're positions that have been vacant. And I've always shared, the most important decision any manager will ever have is the people they hire, no matter what, period. And so we do have a solid team. We've hired a new director of human resource, a new director of planning, a new assistant town manager, and plus other key positions like the special event coordinator is going to be coming on board, as well as other more important positions, in my opinion. And those important positions are in the front line. and they're the ones who are really the ones who are making the town operate. And those are the ones that I feel, while we have management, and it's important, and but without the other 27 key employees we've hired, there's not anything we can do. And, our public safety folks, the chief, he's having some challenges hiring police officers.
Right.
And so that's very important to council, to make sure we are hiring police officers for the public safety piece. And I'm just so thrilled. I mean, I'm genuine thrilled. I'm not just saying this, but we do have a team. It took a while to get there, but we're ready. We're preparing ourselves. And council's been very supportive. You mentioned it took a year. If you look at this list, you may know Rick, but do you know any of the other members?
I know a couple of the other people, yes.
Couple, too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure it was a diverse group of folks.
That's what you want.
They want to make sure it wasn't in that circle that we all know.
We don't want to be in a clique.
Yeah, we don't. We want someone.
I want new and
group,
fresh ideas.
and that's what they did.
And
even
you can
with
look
ESAC.
through these people that I can tell you they're not all grown up and lived in Front Royal their whole life.
Well,
I mean,
and that's happening.
Nothing bad or good about
Yeah.
that, but I mean, you want some diverse opinions.
Yep, and they did a great job. They really did, and they took their time.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of individuals who applied for the job, and if you want to do it right, it takes time.
Well,
sometimes.
you need some people that've been here. You need some people that've
Yes.
cut their hands dirty. People
So-
that have, and I look at some of these people. They've invested a lot of money in our community,
Yeah.
and they're important to make sure that their investment is sound.
Yes.
And so it's important. You don't want to have,
Yeah. So, you talked about the year, and I want to recap. I think a lot of times people don't realize what the council also has done in a year, and I'll be making a presentation on the 20th, and I'll give you a highlight of probably what it's going to
Okay.
be saying. But if you think about it, we've now established a special event policy. We've already established our EDA. We're moving forward on that. We have established our environmental sustainability advisory. For the first time in a quarter of a century, we're doing our comp plan. If you look at that, we hired key positions. Our budget last year, we cut the budget by 4%, $1.5 million, and still maintaining the services that we normally do. Tourism, we're moving forward with the tourism and what we're doing with the tourism piece. We're creating a new building department for building inspections. They've adopted a new blighted property policies where we will be going after dilapidated buildings. We're going to be taking care of that. Infrastructure, they've invested nearly $30 million in infrastructure.
yeah. And that's the stuff that's under the ground. We don't see.
We don't see. And so what's happening, it's like layers. Eventually now we have to fix the stuff underneath. Now we're going to do a lot of the area where citizens will see. And so council has committed that they're going to start looking at our infrastructure. It's one of the big concerns. And so that's going to be the visible work that people see. Plus, to help you all out, we need to start sharing, when I say that, the media, positive stories. And there's a lot of good stuff. So we have a public information officer. That way, the individual will be working with staff and sharing great stories and being more responsive to the press. So those are things that it takes a lot of work, and we accomplished a lot in a year. And I'm probably missing one or two, and it may come to me when we're doing the interview. But the fact that I can't recap everything tells us that we're doing a lot of stuff. And
like you said, it's a moving target. I mean,
yeah, and it just amazes me the focus council has. I mean, really. I mean, if you think you tell me, Mike, that's a lot in a year.
it's a lot.
Right?
A lot done.
Yeah.
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 When you go back and you focus on what we talked about a year ago of what we're going to do, people say, that's not going to happen. And we've moved along progressively, do these things. And you had some ups and downs. You got some, I don't want to say losses, but you got some negative press over some things and positive press on the other. But, if you work, sometimes it brings out ideas. Oh, we didn't think about that.
Yes.
And then you say, well, we can change. We're
Yes.
not locked in. We don't have to keep pounding it if it's not working.
Yes.
We can modify the plan and make it work and move it along. And
Well-
I think you've done that.
Well, council's already directed staff to move forward to complement the comp plan and the budget. So we have the comp plan and the budget. What piece do you think's missing? The strategic plan. And so the strategic plan, we're going to be coming out with a mission and vision and goals for the town, and they're all going to be linked to the budget and comp plan. And more importantly, once they identify the strategic plan and the goals that they've already been discussing, and they have great goals, that's going to be linked to how we fund those low, medium, and high priority projects or anything. And so each year, you or anyone will be able to look at the strategic plan and say, oh, in FY24, here are some of the low, medium, high priorities that they're already thinking about doing,
Right.
and then they're going to be able to link that to the budget.
Right.
The other thing that I didn't mention is our capital improvement program. For the first time, we're going to have a comprehensive list. Now, granted, we initially have a comprehensive list that is not going to be able to be feasible, but I think it's important that everyone understands what we do eventually need to do. We're going to narrow that list down in the Planning Commission. And, the estimates we have professional staff that has developed those estimates. When you're developing a project 4 or 5 years out, as you know, the market's going to change.
Market changes quick.
So, I really wouldn't call it an estimate, it's a guesstimate. And it's just not in our locality it's everywhere. So I don't think people should really say, I need more information about budgets and data.
Or you said it was only going to cost $4 million.
It's a plan.
Well, that was
it's
5
a plan.
years ago.
Well, it also can change, and the priorities can change.
Yeah.
So for the first time, council has asked us, we want a capital improvement program. We want to know what infrastructure needs to be improved. And so that, I can't wait till January. We're going to tell that story because there's been so much accomplished. And this is just the first year, and council's on board, and they are determined to make a quality difference. There's a big difference, and they get it. They don't plan on wanting the town to grow. They want to have business grow and help the citizens. Yeah. And you need all that.
You need it.
In the community.
Well, it's a three-legged
And our budget.
stool.
Do you know our tax rate? We're the 4th lowest in Virginia.
I hear people all the time complaining about
absorb
taxes.
that.
Yeah, but I said, yeah, you're right, and I agree with it. I mean, I tell people all the time they complain about their utility bill or their taxes. I said, you just haven't been anywhere else.
Yeah, compare. I mean,
compare. You have to compare and things. So
yeah, and so one of the strategic plan part is we're going to get a bond rating. And I don't know if you're familiar with bond ratings. It's kind of like a credit report,
Sure.
And you get double or triple A, and you can get really low scores. And the advantage of that, one, if your credit score is high and you've
you can
been
borrow
rated
at lower rate,
and businesses know that your council and the governing body is sound. But more importantly, it raises the bar. Once you're a double or triple A, 5 years from now, someone's going to have to answer why it went to a single A.
Exactly.
And that's how our council's fiscally conservative. But it doesn't mean that they're not willing to revisit any revenue that we may need or support, meaning go get some more grants, but also prioritize how you spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
If you have $10 and you're spending $4 on a pair of shoes, I'm just giving an example. That's when I used to shop at Kmart.
Right,
Remember
right.
You remember get those track shoes, the blue light specials?
Blue light specials.
And I love their submarines. Did you ever do that? Well, anyways, so if you have the $4,
You're dating yourself, Stephen.
Yeah. So when you would have $4, they may say, well, no, we're not going to spend $4 on shoes, and so they're working within their means, and that's the main thing that this council's doing.
Well, I've been saying it here. I made a trip out west a couple months ago, and I'm driving down the interstate, and across their bridge it had small town, big possibilities.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking back to that phrase, and I'm thinking, that's really what we talk about, small town charm and things. We're a small town, but we have big possibilities that we can do. We have several distractions in our town and count. We got a interstate that divides us, a couple of railroads that divide us, a river that divides us, whatever. And all those things that are negative, I think, turn around to me are positives because we have transportation, we got recreation, so we always look at how negative things are instead of looking at it and saying, look, this is great. Look what we got. We got 2 interstates, not
Yeah.
just one, you know.
Yeah.
We've got 4 railroads, not none, you know.
Yeah.
We got an inland port. I mean, all these things are important to the development in our town. And
Yeah, and that reminds me of also one of the areas that they've asked us to look is public transportation. We've noticed it's picking up, and there may be certain corridors where we have a normal route going up and down and bus stops along, let's say 522 or wherever we need it. And the other thing that's coming out of the comp plan, and also as council had a discussion just recently, is they want us to start doing a master plan of trails and sidewalks. We really don't have one. The connectivity, being a walkable community.
right.
And then the retail piece, part of the economic, is actually identifying what type of retail we need and start recruiting. And so that's the other task that the EDA is going to be doing and stuff.
They got
So-
a hard road ahead of them because, we have, limited possibilities as far as, current space and property. I mean, we just, these little bitty 25-foot lots you can't do anything with, what I mean? And
Well, we also need to maximize and get the best use out of land, and we have some infill properties where we need to identify what we want to do and stuff. So
we also need some bulldozer development. I think maybe there's some areas in town, but
that
do
is part of the compliance area,
Yeah.
and then the EDA will have the ability to probably work with some homeowners or property owners that where they really don't have a vision or the means to invest in it, and we
Right.
may
Partner
purchase
with
that.
them, yeah.
Well, yeah, if they have a good business
Sure.
plan, but we will also be seeing what we can do in certain communities and
You
how
gotta
we're
try.
going to do it. Yes.
You got to try. If that don't work, you try something
Yeah.
else. I mean, that's typically how we have to do it. I think the town needs to get back to an entrepreneurial spirit. We
Well,
wanna
this
get-
council's it.
Well, that's good. Well, that's what we want to hear, and I think the people in town, they get caught up in all the minor stuff that goes on, and
Yeah.
really we got to look at the bigger picture. Are we better off today than we were a year ago? I mean, that's all.
I would have to say yes. What do you think?
I think so. That's,
Yeah.
that's the measurement of anything.
Yeah.
Or do you hear it all the time with the politicians? That are you better off today than you were a year ago? Well,
Yeah.
in Front Royal, I think we are. Maybe in some other areas of the country, maybe we're not. But
Yeah.
but I think that things are moving in the right direction. It just like I say, you can't turn the cruise ship around on a dime, but
Yeah.
you got to just start turning it, or you're never going to get it turned.
Yes.
And
Well, I think we finally turned it. Now we got to add fuel to it.
Yeah,
and,
keep it
and
going,
move forward.
but
And
I
it took
feel
a year.
positive about things. It's just, I've, of course, my always thing is, it goes back to management and the team. The council is to give the guidance and set the vision, but it takes the management team to get it done.
Yes.
And I think that's always been some of our problem, and you keep mentioning what the council is doing. They're setting that vision, then get out of the way and give the authority and the resources for your team to get it done, and it sounds like that's what they're doing.
And they truly are. I mean, and one of the areas that they're focused on is they do a good job expressing their vision to us and expectations. And so once we have that, they expect us to execute it.
Well, when I mentioned, I
stuff.
said, we have a town management form of government.
Yes.
And I know you're the town manager, but it's not the council's job to take care of all the little bitty things that the town manager should be doing. And in the past,
Yeah.
that happened a lot.
Yeah.
The town, they didn't like what happened. They took it to the council, and the council made a decision that overrode another decision that overrode another, and just got into the weeds. And that's something that, that.
Well, speaking of the weeds, though, they are conscientious and still encourage citizens to call them
yeah, they want
about kitchen conversations.
Yep.
While we're talking today about the big stuff,
Right.
They never lose sight of the kitchen conversations.
Right.
I share that with you. That's
Right.
the potholes.
Well,
that's
and
the weeds. That's
the weeds.
parents.
They want to know about it,
That's
so they
the
can
drainage.
say, "Steve, take care of that."
Yes.
Stephen, excuse me, Stephen.
Yeah, Steve, yeah. Well, they do, but they also support us through resources.
Right.
I mean, they've actually have shared with us, what do you need to do to be successful. But what I like about this council is they interact with our staff. That's important to me because that's how you build trust. We're all a team. But then they're very respectful to their role, and they understand the challenges they have. They go out and they take tours of facilities.
It's a lot
they're
of work.
engaged.
People don't realize how much work that is to be an elected official. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of commitment.
A lot of commitment to it. And of course, our election cycle starts again in January. And hopefully, when they see they see people doing things, we need to try to find candidates that can fill in, good candidates, and not one issue candidates that are running because they're mad at this one particular thing. Because it's a 4-year commitment. Like to get on the council, and you really need people to be involved in it and not just be mad because they're going to. And that happens sometimes. You get these single issue candidates, and once their issue's taken care of, they kind of lose interest in what's going on, and that's not what we want. I think we want, and there's a lot of good people in our county and in our town that can step forward and help out, either volunteer, run for office, participate, in our government. We always say we get the government we deserve, and that happens by participation. And if you're not happy, speak up. Don't just sit back and say, "Oh, they never listened to me," because, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's what happens sometimes.
Well, we're focused on the goals that we've established, and I shared with them. They're the economic development goals. There are infrastructure, our parents, communication, and our employees.
And it's good. I think once you set that tone,
and so
new people will be able to say, "Oh, this is our plan," and I can.
And all I can tell you is, if you've looked at, you measure a person on what they do, not what they say.
Right.
And this council is doing stuff. And the number 5 goal that they're really concerned about is our employees. And so they've done that, and they recognize everything from the Christmas bonus to maintaining a cost of living and a merit increase, and also recruitment. And so I will tell you, that's an area that I'm passionate about, and that's how we're getting team. We will be known as a locality you want to come work for.
Right.
You wait. Next year in December when we do this,
we'll see what you measure by what your turnover rate is, and how long you churn employees, and that's an important thing. I mean, I tell people, most of my people have been here over 20 years working for here. So,
well, you got a great boss here.
If they can stay, I got a good team.
How long has Roger been here?
Roger's been here since, 2016 when we started the paper. He's been here from the beginning stages. But yeah, it's, you have to do that, and you have to have people, come together and have a common goal to get things done. But you're right. If you're churning through a lot of people, which the town has done in the years past, in the county, and then you look back at it, but majority of your employees have been here a long time and stick around.
They have,
and they want the community. They're not just freeloading on a government job. I mean, they're working.
No, they are, and they also they go beyond just their normal duties.
Right.
And it's very rare you see that. And you can ask them anything,
I
because
stop and talk to them when they're working along the road. The people that are actually making the stuff happen.
That's what I said.
And you can talk to them, and they're happy with what they're doing, and they're enjoying it, and they're out there working. So
I appreciate you stopping.
I do that. I've talked to Dave. I think it's Dave that waters your flowers.
Yeah.
And, he's excited about doing it. He loves them flowers. I mean, he's really into that, and that's his thing.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other people. They're putting up the decorations. They were putting up the light Christmas decorations on the pole. They were glad to do it and excited and wanted to get it done and do a good job. And you were telling the guy, "Oh, it don't work that way. No, you got to hold it this way. That's not straight." So that shows the people that are concerned about doing a good job and just throwing it up there.
Yeah, and those are the stories we need to be sharing with folks. And we do got great employees. It's been a great year, at least for my role and the time I've been here.
Right.
And I appreciate everything that you've done, in trying to share the good news that we're doing.
We're looking for more.
And we're going to provide that to you.
I argue with you all the time.
It's hard
to find this on Facebook.
Well, I mean, I don't have any social media account because it could be a distraction.
It is a distraction.
And I shared with you about rumors, how that's not good, and hearsay, and I've just never been the one who hides behind a computer to express my concerns or who I am or my thoughts. If I have something, I'll share it with you directly.
Right.
And And same with the citizens. I'd rather just
Right.
try and meet them when I want. And,
Well, I tell people,
it's unfortunate the social media nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't
The
know if it's
anonymity
done
of the
good or
keyboard.
bad.
I don't know. I call it the anonymity of the keyboard.
Yeah.
People will say things on the keyboard that they wouldn't say face to face with somebody. So
Yeah, my understanding, I don't really know it, but I was talking to my daughter that you can create a fake account and stuff.
People who have them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've taken comments off the Royal Examiner because I don't know who these people are. I don't want people to get on there and saying this and that and making negative. So we just don't. We limit. You want to comment? You comment on Facebook. They know you. I don't know you, so we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But
anyways, as long as people keep on talking about how the town is moving, how positive things are going on, and being ambassador. Because that's the key thing that's going to attract folks.
Right.
That is it.
Yeah, and I think as citizens and people of Front Royal, a little kindness goes a long way. And when you see somebody you don't know, introduce yourself. And I'm in the restaurant all the time, and I'm saying, "Oh, are you guys local? You from around?" "Oh no, we come up." And then you talk to them, and they're all excited about coming here. Believe it or not,
they are.
They are. It's amazing.
What I'm proud about our businesses and citizens, I can't tell you how many times. Occasionally, folks will stop by, or when I'm out and about, they'll say, "Man, this is a friendly town."
Right.
And we got genuine.
Yeah. Visit
folks.
the visitor center and just talk to people that are coming in there.
We got some great people at the visitor center.
You'll get a completely different perspective of our town than if you just go down and sit on the bench in front of the CNC ice cream shop and just talk to people when they walk by, people that are visiting, and you'll get you'll say, "Really? I didn't know that was here." You'll find out things about our town you didn't know about.
I just, I bought a house. I don't know if you knew about that. Yeah. And, that is something, they always say managers, if you rent, you're visiting. If you purchase, you're committed.
Right.
Well, every day I'm falling more and more in love with this community. And I've been in Virginia since I was 10 years old.
Right.
And I used to come up here in the area a lot. And I worked in Edinburgh when I was with Virginia Department of Transportation. So this area has a lot of opportunities. And I just want to make sure that it's not a matter of if, but when. And trying to manage that is so important to make sure that we develop this town in a way that it's still going to be very, very valuable, from a personal standpoint, where people could still be proud of it. Right. And that's going to take a lot of effort.
Well, the only thing right now that we need to improve on is don't leave your building at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when school's out, because you can't move through town for about an hour, Yeah. And we haven't built a new road in 50 years, so we have no place to build it.
We may not have a place to build it, but there may be little spot improvements we can do to increase the traffic flow.
I think we're going to see some development there behind out Happy Creek Roadway.
Mm-hmm.
We got all that acreage has been zoned and utilities allotted for years and years, and I think that the EDA will work with the owners of those property and kind of help that move it along. You got to get some infrastructure in the ground. Like if you build it, they will come. Look what Winchester's done with those roads they've cut through, like Jubal Early Drive. That used to be an 100 acres stuck out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Now, industry and development, they put that road across, from the airport across. Now look, there's apartment building built coming everywhere. And so sometimes you just need to put some infrastructure in or partner with the private and make it easy to work.
Yeah.
And look at the development that happens. And so you do that, obviously the controlled area. And I think we're just ready with these things that we're doing. It's just like it's going to happen, and it's going to happen quick.
And the council has established the foundation.
That's
we
what
have the foundation. That was the tough part this year.
And that's what keeps it from happening. People are hesitant to invest their $50 million in something when everything is up in flux and they don't,
Just think about it. FRIDA, building department, comp plan, special events, and tourism.
You've taken a lot of flack over the building department, but I think the way that the tone has been over the years, and may change going in the future, but I think the overall concept of that will be probably appreciated. Not that the rules will be any different, but I think the attitude of the rule, the steps you have to go through, and because of making this one-stop shop concept is probably going to be very well accepted in the building industry and the homeowner industry.
Yeah,
at all.
there's no doubt. I mean, and the timing's right because we're going to start doing. There's going to be more development occurring, more revitalization, and as a result, people want to work with the town that they're investing in.
Well, I think the other thing, people always said, well, it's not financially viable. We can't generate enough revenue from paying that. To me, it's an investment in the future. Mm-hmm. And yes, if you have so many dollars per permit, yes, you're going to spend more than what you're going to bring in, but we're not seeing the intangible effects and the investment in overall. And I think it'll be something that'll probably pay for itself, going forward.
The numbers. The verdict's still out about that, but the way council structured the building department is that we have a third-party inspection team.
Right.
And while we gear up and then we have planners that we have that also, a new one will be playing that role as a permit technician to kind of keep the paperwork. And then I'll be the building code official. And the purpose of it is just to get it moving and also create a culture of business friendly where people come in and process their application, because it could be frustrating, but it's going to be a game changer.
I think it will be.
And that was a bold decision.
It was, because I know you've taken a lot of flack over it in the last 4 or 5 years that we've talked about this thing for 20 years probably, but.
It's happening.
It's happening. Good or bad, and I'm sure that if there's a misstep, you can correct it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's going to be hiccups, and it's going to start January 3rd, and we ask that the applicants be patient with us initially. However, I think it's going to be very seamless, our approach, and there's going to be opportunities to tweak it and adjust it. Sure. And the goal is we're going to make the program in a way that's adaptable in the needs of the ones who do business here, one way or another. But the most important thing is minimize multiple bites at the apple.
Right.
If we say we're going to do something or something's approved and it's on the site plan and we approved it, then that's what we need to carry and approve and move forward with.
Right. Well, Stephen, I appreciate you coming in. Part of what we're doing I get a lot of calls. Why didn't you ask him this question? And why didn't you ask him about that? That's really not.
Well, you should tell him. Well, you pick up the phone and call him and ask him.
That's what I tell him. I said, part of what we're doing, and I told you when the very first time you come, I'm not going to attack you and ask you questions about things that, that are attack and negative. I mean, the idea of this is to inform the community of what's going on, what's good, expose the people that are around so that you know who to call and contact. And, so that's not, that's why we call this a conversation, and hopefully that's what it's been with you. And hopefully we've done our job to inform the community of what's happening, what did happen, what's going to happen, who to call if you don't know what's going on. And I think that's the whole idea of the talk.
Well, I appreciate it. And to all the citizens, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. And,
town looks great.
So I look forward to next year. I know staff does, and I know council. They're just really they're focused, and we got a lot of good stuff. Good. Now it's time to execute.
That's right. Well, I like that you said it starts January 3rd. That's a plan.
Yes. So
sometime next year. You got a date. If you set a date to it, it makes it real easy to implement things.
And the timing's everything. I mean, council realize it's going to be a reset button come January 3rd.
We'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on you.
See.
How's that?
All right.
Appreciate it, Stephen.
I don't have to worry about that. A lot of people do that.
Again, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you,
Thank you so
Mike.
much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Stephen.
I appreciate everything.
Thank you.